Hi, welcome to another episode of Life's Necessities and Luxuries. Today we have a special guest. Melody Brooke will be joining us momentarily. She is a relationship coach that has over 30 years experience. She's the author and speaker of Oh Wow, This Changes Everything. So today we're going to talk about relationships, intimacy, and some different things that people who are in relationships go through, and hopefully we can come up with some unique ways to battle the things get tough. You know how that can be, right? So if you have a relationship and maybe you've been with somebody for a long time, or maybe it's a new relationship, it's very important to learn how to communicate with one another, as well as figure out how you're going to, keep it alive, keep it hot and steamy, and all that good stuff that follows in between, right? Because relationships are definitely not easy. They take a lot of work and a lot of patience. And I think a lot of people, when things get tough, they just throw in the towel and think, I tried and that's it. But seriously speaking, if you really feel like something is worth waiting for, worth fighting for, worth really putting in an effort for it, then, it takes some work and it takes some compromising and amongst other things. And how do you keep it fresh, right? Because, after a certain amount of time, things can get a little stale. So actually, in the book, 151 Secrets that I wrote, I have a whole part in there on part number 3, which talks about different ways that you can keep your love life burning bright. So you may want to check it out. Again, it's only $1 right now, so you may want to just go to 151secrets.com and pick up a copy. So without further ado, let's get Melody on the line. All right, guys, so here's Melody, and she's going to teach us some things that we need to know to keep our relationships alive. How you doing, Melody?
I'm awesome.
Thank you so much for being here this evening. I know you have a crazy schedule and we don't have much time together today, so I just wanted to say welcome and thank you. And I want to know, you have so much experience, 30 years of being a relationship coach. You must have seen it all and then some.
Yes, I have.
We don't have much time, and this is a really big topic, so I'm just trying to get a couple of ideas. So when couples get into this, how bickering can happen, or somebody gets agitated because somebody left with dirty socks on the floor, or, how little things become big things, right? What kind of relationship that's been together for quite a while, like what can they do to just kind of, I don't know, what is it, setting boundaries or creating some kind of rituals?
Okay, so those things that people argue about are never what they're really about, right? It's never really about the socks. It's never really about the glass that was left out or how the dishwasher was loaded. That's not really what it's about. So it's always, there's always something else that perhaps has not been spoken or has been held back, or feelings that got hurt that somebody didn't ever quite own, and so then they just sort of build up, and then it becomes this thing. And so what I suggest to my clients is, number one, when you feel that rush of feelings where you feel like I just got to say something, don't say anything. Take a deep breath and just say, I'm having some feelings about that. And then calm yourself down. Spend a couple of minutes figuring out what it is that's really going on. And don't speak before you've settled yourself, because if you do, it's not going to go well. It's never going to go well.
True. Very true. Things could come flying out that we really didn't mean to say.
The other person's going to say things, and you're going to say things, and nobody's going to feel heard, and somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. And eventually that will destroy whatever love you have for each other. So it's really important to slow things down, to say, I'm having some feelings about that. Let me get back to you. And then go calm yourself down and come back and say, you remember earlier when this happened, I felt this way because, and you just talk about your own feelings. Because when you do that, you're focusing on your stuff, not on their stuff.
I love that, because it's true. It's so easy to just, fly off the handle in that moment, because when you get upset, it's hard, especially if people are really stressed out from their jobs or whatever might be going on at the time. So if people don't particularly like confrontation and, you know, I know a lot of people don't, and they shy away from it. And I don't mean like a bad confrontation, but even just a matter of, if you say, oh, I don't really like this, that you're doing this, you know, people don't like criticism or.
I am one of those people. I have trouble being able to say, now it's different when professionally, I'll tell people what they need to hear professionally, but when it comes to interpersonal relationships, I have trouble myself being able to own it. And I know the way to do it is just to calm myself down and say, you know, when this happens, I'm feeling this way because, it's really important to do it, because if you don't, it's going to come out sideways. It's going to come out some way that's not good. And I see people, I've seen so many relationships where somebody just like, they start playing games with each other, just kind of digging at each other, making passive aggressive jokes at each other, and not because they're having some feelings that they're refusing to address. And if they would just address the feelings, if they would just own them, but because of the way our brains work, we have this reactive old, this is a model of your brain, by the way. We have this reactive old brain, that reptilian brain, in that brain stem where our fight, flight, freeze reflexes live. And when that gets fired off, it feels like the only alternative we have is either to sweep everything under the rug, pretend everything's fine, or attack. As if that were our only two options. Right. And it's not our only two options.
It's true, very true.
But our bodies that react as if that was the only alternative we have. And so when we can find a different way, and we can start speaking our truth in a way that is about us and not attacking, but that's the old brain wants to attack and wants to see somebody as the bad guy, right? Sure. But if we can, the truth is, you know, it's always something going on with us. Just own it.
I think what you mentioned earlier is one of the toughest things is to be able to catch ourselves, stop ourselves, take that moment to just count to 10 or whatever it is, just to, or, you know, sometimes me and my boyfriend we'll get into a spat over something really stupid. And I just kind of say, you know what? I'm going to have to walk into the other room now. Just step away for a second, because if I don't, we'll just escalate into something that we really don't need to do. And it's over something stupid and minor, and you're like, okay, you know, because we're hungry, we're hangry. You know what I mean? It's like, so it can be a really tricky thing.
You're worried about COVID. I mean, who knows, right?
Right. Everyone's stressing out right now. And then you're in the same household, like day in, day out, and not even like, oh, okay, I'm going to work. It's got to be really tough right now. So
they're going to spill over, right?
Right. So do you have any tips when it comes to that?
To
like being in confinement together, you know, quarantined.
You need to take, what I tell people is you make sure you have some private time to yourself. Even if you're in just a little 2-bedroom apartment together or 1-bedroom apartment together, you know, just to make sure that you say, you know what, I need a few minutes, a little time, maybe an hour over here by myself. Just with no disturbance. Each of you take, like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to take a hot bath for like an hour. Leave me alone. You know, take that time for yourself, because we all need that. We need that self-soothing time just to kind of get ourselves back.
Absolutely.
We need that distance, and nobody needs to be on top of somebody all the time, 24/7. You've got.
I know it's really tough, and especially if you do live in a small quarter. And I know, because I've lived with people and I've had 2x4 space to live in it, and it's very difficult. And I would lock myself in the bathroom a lot and be like, that's my safe haven. So anyone watching or listening out there today, make sure you find that time for yourself, because it really is key. And what I love to do is to create that little spa in the bathroom, light some candles, put on some soft music, bring your favorite glass of, whatever, water or beverage, whatever your choice is. And if you have to put on, I have these waterproof headphones because I swim and work out, so I get to wear them in the tub. But just any kind of music, it's so soothing. And, if you want to bring in a journal and just write some things out, put a hair mask on and a face mask, and really give yourself that pampering time, because we've been so stressed out that, taking that 10 minutes to just throw on a mask or a deep conditioner in your hair would really make the difference, because when you step out of there, you'll feel like 10 pounds got lifted off your shoulders, and you can just take on the world again, right? So let's move on to the juicier stuff. Let's talk about sex, baby. Intimacy is a really tough thing. I think a lot of couples, am I correct when I say this, that they don't like to speak to each other about what they want?
Absolutely. Being able to talk about what's going on sexually is just like, I'll have couples that have been together for decades that they've never talked about it.
It's amazing.
And they've never talked about it because there's just so much vulnerability in talking about it, right? I mean, because you can't find anything more personal than that intimate connection. And we're also sensitive of, are we doing it right? Do we look right? Do we smell right? Do we, all that stuff,
all the things
that gets in the way of just relaxing and enjoying each other. And what I find happens is you can't, when you're in the process of making love, you can't talk about what works and what doesn't. You can't really have that conversation when you're in the middle of it. It's a lot better to say, let's have a talk about what you're enjoying, what you're not, what would you like to be different, and what really turns you on, and just have those conversations, when you're fully clothed and calm, and and maybe connected, being cuddled up on a couch or something where you're connected, but you're not being sexual, so that you can feel safe enough to start talking about that stuff. But it's going to be anxiety provoking for almost anybody.
It's true. I mean, it is. And it's also, I think, a lot of times when the way we're brought up, I mean, I know in like the era I was brought up, you didn't really talk about sex very fluidly. And I went to Catholic school for 12 years and, you didn't have sex until you got married. So that right there was a big thing too. But I found that I had two 10-year relationships with two different people. So I felt like I was married twice, but I remember wanting to talk to them or having to talk to them about certain things. And it's weird because, I think either they're open to it or they're shut off to say, I don't want to talk about it. Everything's fine. And I knew a couple, they were married probably for 25 years, and she wanted her husband to tie her up, but she never told him. And I said, but that's nothing, it's like, you're not asking him to do something horrible to you. You're just playing around and you're role playing. Right. And I find that, and I just wrote this book, 151 Secrets. That's a short title of it. But in part 3, it's about, sex and intimacy. And I talk about how it really is important for you to just explore and role play and try something new to keep it spicy in the bedroom. Do you agree with that? That's safe and it's nothing that's really going to harm the relationship, if anything, enhance it?
Yeah, but if there's something that you haven't tried together before, a new position, and like you say, little games like that, little fantasy games like that you want to play together, there's no harm in it, and there's certainly no shame in it. But so many people are embarrassed to say what their fantasies are now. And I just don't get it. Because we grow up, especially as women, I think, we're supposed to be the virgin who is so innocent and
doesn't know anything.
And that's sort of the especially if you're a mom, it's like you're supposed to be just like right. How can you be untouched and be a mom? I don't understand that, but that is sort of like the thing that goes through people's minds is, oh, you can't be a sexual person because you're a mom. What?
That's right. You're a human being. You're an animal. You have animal instincts, and it's part of our makeup. It's like.
So I can remember as a young girl, touching yourself was like, oh, you don't do that. It's just shaming, and a lot of shame around the fact that you are a sexual being for women it's just like, we're not supposed to be that. It's fine for a guy, right? But if you're a girl, what are you? What's the word for you?
It starts with an S and an L to T.
Right. and really, really shaming stuff, right? Those women who are comfortable with their bodies and who are openly sexual, they're shamed. Mm-hmm. So we're really shamed out of being present and open with ourselves.
What would you suggest if for someone who does want to explore something a little bit further with their partner, where can they start? I mean, I know you said when you snuggled on the couch, but is there another way? Like I thought, like one of those one of the tips I mentioned in the book is they have those board games, like those sexual board games, right? They say, okay, now try this and I'll do this. And I felt like that might be an easy way for somebody to get together and say, you know what, let's try these things. You know what, they may like it, they may not like it, but I feel like if it's all in fun and it's part of a game, that maybe it'll be a little bit easier, like to break the ice for them
my
to
friend
kind
Pat
of
Smith,
get
the sex therapist, and she has developed a game. I don't recall right off what it's called, but her name is Cat Smith with a K with it. She has these intimacy board games that she's come up with that are exactly for that purpose.
Oh, awesome. I'm going to see if I can find her stuff and put that in the show notes, because I think it is important, you know, like just doing little special things, you know, maybe just take a warm bath together and just, you know, wash each other's hair or something as simple as that, right? Because, I mean, first of all, I'm trying to think, like, how many couples have actually taken a bath together in the last, if they're together for X amount of years? I mean, probably, I'd say, far and few between. So,
or find a mirror, right? Enjoy that.
Exactly.
And videotape yourself, just for yourself, not for anybody else's purpose, just for your own. You know, all of those things that just bring this little edge of excitement to your love life, right? That's
Absolutely.
just with you.
Yeah, and I think that once they try it, they'll be like, oh, wow, this was fun, and let's do something else. And I think then they'll start to get more comfortable with trying those new things and trying, you know, maybe they just do it in different places in their house and they just don't do it in the bedroom. Get outside of the bedroom and try it, you know, in a bunch of other places.
And another thing is that so many couples, especially women, you know, they're embarrassed to make any noise, you know.
The neighbors are going to hear me.
Right. It's like, the truth is that your partner needs to know when you're enjoying something. So it's really important that you make that little ooh and
that's a great point. That's a great point.
So it communicates that this is something. I'm not saying fake it, but if you enjoy something, especially don't fake it, but if you enjoy something, let them know verbal with those sounds. You know, you can just let you don't have to say words. You can just say, oh,
yeah. It feels great. And if it feels great, let them know it feels great.
Yeah, sexy. Turn your partner on.
And you know what? I think it gives, even for the man, like, you know, if the man is on the quiet side, I mean, I think maybe the woman needs to know that she's doing something right too. You know, it's like, so I think it's important to communicate. And like you say, it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of verbal mumbo jumbo. It could just be the sounds and the coos of two birds making love. Going back to the confrontation thing, if somebody is a little bit more afraid of confronting and having relationships and dealing with any kind of you know, one-on-one, how can they maybe find a way to become more able to handle some kind of confrontations and things like that? Is there something as a practice or some kind of a therapeutic thing that they can do?
Well, coming back to first off, you have to keep your stress levels sort of down, because a lot of times people who are very highly anxious are already sort of stressed, right? It makes it even more difficult. So the first thing is to keep your own stress level down. And that means doing yoga, doing meditation, you know, doing those things that deep breathing. There's a belly breath type of breathing that I have my clients do, which is where you close your eyes and you breathe in, focusing on the word breathe. And then as you breathe out, you relax your jaw, breathe out through your mouth, and focus on the word easy.
Oh, I like that.
And you just focus on those words. Breathe, easy, breathe, easy. And just do that for a couple. You can do it for 10, 15 breaths if you can, long enough to get yourself settled. And once you've done that, then it's easier to come back and say, hey, I just noticed I had some feelings, right?
That sounds great. Thank you. So awesome. Well, Melody, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. How can our viewers and listeners stay in touch with you and learn more about you and pick up?
Learn more about me at melodybrooke.com. I have a lot of videos, and I have a membership program, and I have some courses that I'm going to be putting up and some workshops that I'm going to be putting up soon. So check them out.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear a bit more about them. I will definitely link everything up in the show notes so that you guys can check it out. And remember, relationships are very, very important and they are very fragile. So if you really want to keep your relationships together, I say, keep them with kick gloves and really, think about what you do and what you say before you do and say. And you can sleep at night and feel really great having your partner next to you, knowing that, somebody loves you back. I think that's a beautiful thing. So treasure it always. And Melody, thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for your patience.
And please stay safe out there and stay healthy. And I'll be in touch soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. So thank you again, my lifers, for joining us this evening. I hope you learned a couple of tips to keep your relationship hot, steamy, and argument-free. Remember to live lovingly, peacefully, happily, successfully, luxuriously, and necessarily. Until the next time, see you soon. Bye for now.